The Randy Karraker Show, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker, great to have you with us. Hope you're enjoying your 25-cent drinks from Mobile on the Run today. Yeah, Cardinals score more than 6. They scored 9 in a 9-8 victory over the Giants. The Giants are done. Cardinals are ahead of the Giants in the standings. How about that? Still some settling to do here in terms of the pennant race, and well, not the pennant race, but the race for playoff spots. But the Cardinals are doing their damage, and they have a chance, Matthew, to finish at 500. How about that? They're 78-80, 4 games left. You got 1 against the Giants, 3 against the Cubbies, and you go 3-1 in those games. And then all of a sudden you're 81-81, and it's a successful season. We're not thrilled with it, but it's a successful season.
Right? Yeah. Well,
81
because
man, what did you think at the beginning of the season?
Well, my argument would be that you can't judge this season just on the win-loss record, because that's not what the season was supposed to be about.
Exactly.
That's the thing, is you can't judge it because that's not what the litmus test was going to be for this season. So I believe you and Brooke talked about it. Katie Wu has written about it. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I believe Derek Gould has maybe not used the word failure, but also called into question the successful or how successful they were in the biggest moves or goals of this season.
They wanted to find out about people,
and they didn't really do that for the most of them.
Who didn't they find out about?
Well, I think they still have a lot of questions about I think they didn't get a complete answer about guys like Nolan Gorman.
I think they pretty much know.
Okay. Jordan Walker didn't give them the answer they wanted.
No, but still, you were successful in finding out about him.
Well, but they weren't, though, because in their perspective, they're going to still say he's 23 years old. We got to give him a little bit more time.
They are going to give him more time.
So they didn't get the answer they wanted. Okay, they didn't find out more about him. I don't know. Do they know more how to fix him this winter beyond just saying, go hit winter ball?
Nah. No.
Well, then they didn't successfully find out about Jordan Walker this year.
Okay. Well,
they refused to let themselves find out about Jose Fermin.
I know. Isn't that terrible? I mean, he's such a good player. He's an impact guy. When we talk about, like, go back to, for example, in the 2000s, when you had Miguel Tejada and Derek Jeter and Nomar Garcia-Pera, Omar Vizquel. I mean, you had all these guys. You got that kind of player on the St. Louis Cardinals, and you aren't taking advantage of that ability, that skill set.
Yeah, how dare you? I mean, he's hitting over 300 or close to it. He was hitting over 300. It might have fallen off by now.
Okay,
he's getting clutch hits. I say give him more of a chance. Where's the runway?
Yeah, more runway. Going to build it. It's going to be kind of like Lambert Field, where they build the runway that is really, really long that they never use. It's going to be like that kind of a runway.
That's great. Let's just compare the Cardinals to one of the greatest failures in St. Louis infrastructure of the last 25 years. Okay. And that says a lot. There's been a lot of those.
Yeah. Okay, so you had this great question, and I think it's fantastic. Ranking these 3 moments from the Cardinals' comeback win over the Giants last night. I wouldn't have put $100 on that happening. Okay, here we go. Brendan Donovan's 4 doubles. I could have seen that happening. Ivan Herrera's 3rd straight game with a home run. Well, he did home runs in 2 in a row, so why not 3? And Nolan Arenado's 1st home run since June 21st. Yeah, I would not have put $100 on that, especially in that ballpark for a right-handed hitter. I would not have put $100 on Nolan Arenado hitting another home run for the Cardinals, but he's proven now that he's healthy, and the Cardinals should be able to trade him. But I would have thought the most likely would have been Herrera's home run. Second most likely would have been Donovan tying the MLB record with 4 doubles, a record that is shared, by the way, by Matt Carpenter. And then third would have been Arenado hitting it out of the ballpark, and the Cardinals coming back and coming away with a victory that they, I'll say this for the Cardinals. They're resilient. They probably should not have won that game, but they're a tough, resilient team. Oh, and by the way, Andre Pallante, less than 2 1/3 or something like that.
Yeah.
He was not great.
That was a little bit rough from Andre Pallante. Talk about maybe some questions are up in the air. Maybe they don't really know what Andre Pallante is as a starter. He was their best starter for the last 3 months of the season last year. The last 3 months of the season this year are going pretty rough for him.
So did we find out about him?
Not really.
No. Here's the thing.
He still gets a great ground ball. He still gets a high ground ball rate.
And I kind of think his command is gone because of fatigue. And I think that having gone through this, hopefully the Cardinals will have a solution for him to be able to do more in 20 plus starts. He's fine for 20 starts. He had 23 in the minors at one point. But the key for him is going to be able to power through like Liberatore has. Liberatore struggles, right, after he gets to 23, 24 starts. But now here he is between starts 25 and 30, and he's been a lot better. Palante needs to figure out that exact same thing.
And if you had to like phrase out what the Cardinals' question for Andre Palante was going into the season, it was, can he be a full season MLB starter?
Yeah.
And the answer they would have gotten to that is maybe
this year.
Yeah, because
the answer they got, yeah, maybe,
because he was able to do it for 120 innings, but innings 120 through 160 have been a little bit rough.
Yep.
And so the question, so they haven't really got an answer there. But because the first 120 innings are still good, the answer wasn't a definitive no, and so it's still up in the air about what he does going forward.
But I think what he's going to be, though, I think if he maxes out, he's not going to be any more than a number 3.
Yeah,
he just doesn't have the stuff to be more than a 3 or a 4. So hopefully the front of your rotation, we've mentioned this before, winds up being Doyle and Matthews, and then McGreevy is a number 3. And if you could have Palante at the back, although he doesn't really give you the innings at a number 5, but you've got Liberatore, so you got 3 lefties at the top, and then McGreevy and Palante. So, but maybe McGreevy is not your number 5 starter, but he's your innings guy. I think McGreevy can be a 180 inning guy.
I'm trying right now to look up Palante's splits, because you were just talking about yesterday about the kind of pitcher who can have success in Busch Stadium and things like that. And we already know that Miles Michaelis has a very stark home and away split. So I just wanted to see Andre Palante's here and see if it's very stark. It's actually, wow, it's actually extremely normal. He's actually worse at home this year. He has a 5.77 ERA across 15 starts at home. He has a 4.89 ERA across 16 starts away. The OPS he's allowed is almost identical: 760 OPS at home, 776 away, and the batting average better at home than away. Yeah, so his slugging's actually slightly worse at home. So it's not that it's not necessarily the issue with the home away thing like we have with Miles Michaelis, and that he gets away with pitching in a huge stadium like Busch Stadium. Clearly, there's some other issues there with Andre Palante, and they need to figure out. Hence, the question not being answered. To Kevin Pruitt's point, they got the answers, not the ones they wanted, and the answer they need is a rebuild.
Yeah, and that's where they are right now. We talked about it yesterday. Bernie's talked about it. That's just where they are, even though they aren't using the word. It's definitely where they are. Hey, Bubs, by the way, thanks for logging in. Thanks for checking in. It's good to see you too. And we're sorry that you teach a lab during that time a few days a week. Your class might be interested in what we have to say. So you can just keep us up on the big board up there.
Yeah, what subject is it? Yeah. Well, we can find a way to like, slowly like morph in whatever you're trying to teach them and make it so that it like passes muster.
Something scientific.
Probably something scientific. You'd guess, but we could. I mean, there's got to be some way. I mean, biology, physics, anthropology. We can talk about sports with all those things. Don't worry, we'll figure it out.
Also, we need a team that has the same mentality about Arenado that some people have about their partners. The I can fix him mentality. You're right.
I don't think that. I think the Cardinals need to have a much more cut them loose kind of mentality of never get back together. As soon as the relationship has ended the first time, you sever all ties, never talk to them again, which is my personal advice to everyone in the world.
Okay. You mama, wasted year. They found out literally nothing more about anyone. Everything you said about Walker and Gorman, you can say today. You didn't even find out Herrera can't catch because he's still going to catch. And he will catch 60. Well, if he proves that he can catch, he'll catch 60 or 70 games. I think you did find out that Herrera can hit. I think you found out that Mason Wynn is capable of being the best shortstop in the league. I think you found out more about Pages. He is what he is, and no more, no less. But you found out that he can do it over the course of 6 months. I think you found out a lot about Alec Burleson once he was around for a full season. And I do think, for better or worse, you did find out about Gorman and Walker. Now, you might not be happy with what you found out, but you did find out some stuff. They had a full season, 6 months to play. And I would disagree that you didn't find anything out about those guys.
I'm still bothered
And-
by the fact that apparently with Gorman, 3 weeks are apparently going to be the most important part about his season, and not the other 4 months. That's blowing my mind. That because you're right, everything you said was 100% correct. The only difference the only thing I have between what you said and what you mama says on the text up right now is everything you said about Walker and Gorman you can say today. Except, and I don't want to keep rehashing this point, but that's not true with Nolan Gorman. He did make changes, and yes, he has regressed here at the end of the season,
back to the bad habits.
But you talked about it too. You don't want to make a decision on a player just on something that happened in September on a losing team. And so I want to focus on what was happening in June, July, and August when this was still a team that was winning games, at 500 or above 500 pace for the most part. And he was a player who had made changes, and so. That's my only thing with Nolan Gorman. I know I've made the point a lot, but I can't get past it because the numbers are what the numbers are.
I think another thing that factors into finding out about Gorman is finding out about Burleson and Brendan Donovan having essentially a full season. So you have 4 left-handed hitters. You kind of found out more about Newt Barr too. So, but if you're going to keep 2 of your lefty hitters, and then you've got Weatherholt on the way, and then you're going to get rid of 2, well. You're not going to get rid of Burleson. You're not going to get rid of Donovan. So that leaves Newt Barr to go and Gorman to go. And I still think Gorman can be a 30, 35 home run guy. I think that he can be a more than serviceable player. I don't think he's going to be a star. I think I've always said that I thought he was more of a 6 or 7 hitter, but there's a place for him in baseball, just not with this team. Because if everything would go the way we expect it to go, Weatherholt will be here. So you'll have Weatherholt, Wynn, Donovan, either Contreras or Burleson on the infield. You really don't have a spot. And the other part of the equation is the designated hitter position, which probably for 100 or 90 games is going to be filled by Ivan Herrera. So you really don't have a defensive spot or a DH spot for Nolan Gorman. So you either move him or you have him be a bench player. And with a 40% strikeout rate, you don't want him to be a bench player.
That's completely fair. And let's move this conversation forward because we're talking about everyone who's made improvements and things like that. One thing I want to throw out there, because Katie Wu in her very solid article talked about one question that we've thrown out a lot and we've kind of completely knocked it down. You put this guy under the umbrella of players who are going to be here next year, and you were very staunch about that. But I'm going to throw you out a little question here, a little pop question. I'm calling it.
Got it. Pop question.
If Donny can have nights like that, and the Cardinals are starting a multi-year rebuild for a guy whose arbitration is coming up within that multi-year rebuild timeline, what's the reason not to trade him? Considering if he can do that, winning teams are going to come calling for him, especially at his cheap, potentially arbitration number in the fall. What if you're not going to win with him? This is going to be a multi-year rebuild. What's the reason not to move him at his highest value?
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, the Cardinals went to a World Series with Tom Herr at the age of 31. Let me double check here.
They did. You're not wrong about that. Was Tom Herr one of the best valued second baseman on the market?
Yes, no question about it. He was one of the 2 or 3 best.
Yeah,
in
right. That's fair.
And
how bad? And were they bad when he was 26?
Let's see here. When he first came up,
or 28, I should say 28.
And he only played 14 games. Played 76 games in 1980. Yeah, they were pretty bad. And then, but let's see, 1987, he was 31, and
they won the World Series when he was 29.
Yeah,
and that's the difference is that in 3 years when you age up Donovan, it's not just his contract season coming up. It's also just the age of the player that he's going to be when he's not going to be arbitration eligible. He'll be in 3 years, he'll be 31.
Yep. As Herr was when they went to the 1987 World Series. If I was convinced that the Cardinals were going to get something better than Brendan Donovan back for him, I would do it. But I have no problem with a Gold Glove second baseman that hits a lot and can be a leadoff hitter for you. I don't have a problem with that kind of player being on my team. But that's generally believe that the best way to win is by having good players.
But isn't it also true that that's the kind of player that you move inside of rebuilds because it gives you the most chances down the line, and he's not going to have an impact on
That's what
the only thing he's going to have an impact on. Other leadership and things matter. I shouldn't say the only thing he's going to have an impact on. One of the only things he's going to have an impact on for the future is leadership in the locker room. Wins and losses don't matter in these next 3 seasons relative to the future. It's just about talent acquisition, and he doesn't help you by being on this team for the next 3 years.
I think if you do that, you're kind of acting like the Royals when they got rid of Damon and Beltran and that entire outfielder who I don't.
It'd be different if he was 25. It'd be different if he was 25.
A player's in his prime between 28 and 32.
That's true. You're right. But you're trying to.
And so if you are planning on getting Doyle and Matthews here next year, and you already have Liberatore and you already have McGreevy, and you've got Weatherholt here, and you've got Burleson here, why can't you compete in 2027 and compete for big things in 2028? What?
I don't know, but 2028 is different. But a multi-year rebuild tells me that they don't think they can compete in 2027 at a high level.
No, I disagree. Well, that's not what Ali Marmol says.
But isn't that a multi-year? Isn't that what a multi-year rebuild is?
Yeah, anything more than 2 years. Yeah.
Well, then they're not.
And this was the first part of it. This was year 1, right?
But it was not a successful year in that rebuild. So therefore,
but it was
the rebuild's going to get to year 2 or 3.
You're finding out about guys, and if you rebuild Houston did, then when you think you're ready to win, then you sign a bunch of free agents and trade for a bunch of people.
There's a lot of people who are saying this year wasn't a successful year inside of a rebuild.
Well, from what I heard from John Mozeliak and Ali Marmol, they wanted to give guys runway to find out and get growth from those that had the chance to do so.
They didn't get the growth.
So you don't think that Mason Wynn got any better?
Mason Wynn.
You don't think Matthew Liberatore got
Mason Wynn definitely developed.
You don't think that
Matthew Liberatore, you know what you have now from Matthew
Alec
Liberatore.
Burleson?
Alec Burleson definitely did, but Jordan Walker didn't, Nolan Gorman didn't, Lars Nootbaar didn't, Victor Scott didn't. I mean, he still has the pop plays, but his consistency didn't develop. Andre Palantes didn't.
Do
you have a catcher next year that you're kind of confident in every day?
One team in history that has hit on 100% of their prospects.
That doesn't exist.
So if you hit on 50%, which we just talked about, you're doing pretty good, right?
You think so, yeah.
If you can find a team, if the best teams hit on about 50%, the best at developing players hit on about 50% of the prospects.
But more than one of those guys has to be a dude, as Bernie says. And right now they only have one dude, and that's across both pitching and hitting. Well, that's the issue.
Yeah, and you need to find more because you thought you had that skill set in Walker. You thought you had that skill set in Gorman.
And you find more by getting more darts to throw, which is by trading away players at their highest value when you're in the middle of the rebuild.
Okay, that's fair. I don't necessarily agree with that assessment, but let me just give you an example, and I will give you some darts. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
Patrick Toohey jumps in here while you're getting there. Tom Herr was toast by age 32 season. This team is not going to the playoffs before Donovan turns 32.
Yeah. Again, Tommy Herr was an everyday player for a World Series team, a pennant-winning team, when he was 31 years old. So that's what we're talking about is the age of 31. Okay, so let's
Big Honky. I love the name.
Yep.
Big Honky. To the people saying it was a wasted year, what did you really expect the Cardinals to achieve this season?
That's a good question. So tell me about the success of Israel Mania, Reginald Preciado, Jason Santana, Owen Casey, and Zach Davies.
I know those last two. Those names were just elite names that I knew. I have no idea who these guys are.
Ismail Mania, Reginald Preciado, Jason Santana,
incredible names.
Owen Casey, and Zach Davies.
I don't know a lot about those guys. The only name I really noticed was Zach Davies.
They were traded in December of 2020 to the Chicago Cubs for one Yu Darvish, who after that pitched reasonably well in for the Padres. So it's great to get lottery tickets. I get them all every week, but I still haven't won. And I think that's what you do when you are trying to get prospects like the Baez kid that they got for Ryan Helsley. He's a lottery ticket. And if you win, it's awesome. It's great, but the odds are against you.
That's a really good. Yeah, that's fair. The odds are against you, but is it? I guess for what is the benefit for the Cardinal? I guess to your point, what's the reasons not to trade him? If you accept the premise that it's a multi-year rebuild, what are the reasons not to trade him? Is it the leadership factor? Is it the winning games does matter because it builds good habits? Yeah. What is the angle
and he's a really
for you for this one?
I'm a big believer in the is rather than a might be.
Yeah.
And I already know that Brendan Donovan is a good player. Whoever they get for him might be a good player. The Cardinals were very excited about Tekoa Roby when they got him. Right now he's out for next year with Tommy John surgery. I think they were very excited about John King when they got him. Who else? So JC came in that trade. So JC's a nice bench player. But if you look around, man, when teams rebuild and trade off really good players, for the most part, it's very rare that, at least as far as I can tell, that you get greatness back in return.
Skywalker 1982, with as many playoff spots are available now, you can make the wild card during a rebuild.
Yeah,
it's a good point. We're going to talk about the wild card standings here in just a moment. My other question would be in this conversation, because you threw it out there. The last times the Cardinals did a trade like this, a known commodity just for darts at the board. Especially in the offseason.
Yeah, somebody might be able to. Well, yeah, they really haven't done that.
They really haven't done it.
They haven't been in rebuild mode.
They haven't been in rebuild mode very often. It would be another step kind of over the precipice.
And even like
of 2 out of 3 trade deadlines selling, and then making a move like this, it would be extremely rare for the Cardinals.
Yeah, even going back to the Anheuser-Busch ownership when they traded Willie, they got Felix Jose back, who he was already an established major league player. They really haven't traded a pitcher. Yeah, so the best you could say is it was kind of like when the Blues had their sell-off when they traded Jordan Montgomery and Hicks and all those guys who were going to be free agents. But they haven't traded anybody that still has time left. When's the last time they traded a controlled player for prospects? Man, it's been a lot. If it's happened, it certainly hasn't happened because of money.
And nothing's coming off the top of my head. Samuel Howe,
or because they were bad, because the Cardinals haven't been bad very often.
Am I outdated, or does pitching still win championships?
Well, according to David Stearns, who is the president of baseball operations of the New York Mets, you don't need an ace to win. He said that on the day of the trading deadline when he didn't trade for an ace, and then his team went down the tubes and has a really good chance to miss the playoffs. Pitching wins championships. Having a wealth of pitching certainly benefits you. And this is one of the reasons that it's more difficult now for a franchise like the Cardinals than it was when Dave Duncan was here and when they were great, because Dave Duncan was unbelievable at resurrecting pitchers. But when you look at the teams now, and this is why having people like Day and Cerfolio and Rob Pierpont in the organization, why that's good, because the good teams with young pitching are few and far between. When you look at the best teams in baseball, most of the time, it seems to me, they've gotten their good pitching from other outlets. The Brewers got theirs. They traded for them and fixed them. They kind of Dave Duncan-esque. The Phillies, they go out and sign Zach Wheeler, and they get Taijuan Walker. They've got and yes, they have developed some guys, but their big guy who's hurt right now, they got as a free agent. Toronto's loaded with good pitching, and it pretty much all came from outside their organization. The Yankees, even though they lose Garrett Cole, it's Carlos Rodon, it's Max Fried, it's other guys. It's so they haven't. The Mariners have done a great job of developing pitching. The Cardinals stole the guy that started the development process there, Pierpont. The Dodgers, we know they've bought their pitching. The Cubs, they've traded for and acquired a lot of their pitching from outside the organization. The good team and Cleveland, by the way, is doing a great job with homegrown pitching. The good teams that win with homegrown pitching, man, you don't see them, because once pitchers are ready to be really, really good, they become free agents, and the Dodgers and Yankees and Phillies.
That sounds like a very tragic story that we've all seen a lot.
And it's different because of the amount of money now that multiple teams, especially the Dodgers, are spending. And the Dodgers, there was an interesting piece by Jeff Passan a couple of weeks ago about how the Tanner Scott deal, 4 years, $72 million, was really the linchpin for people saying we got to have a salary cap. And the Dodgers being able to have, and they do, they've got 10 starting pitchers. And one of the reasons that they do that is because they know that they've got a group that's going to be hurt, and they still want to compete. And they've been able, you look at what Emmett Sheehan is doing this year, he's been really good. So they've developed a guy too. But most of the Dodgers guys that they develop get hurt. Dustin May, Walker Buehler, Tony Gonsolin, those guys seem to wind up getting hurt.
Patrick Tui, this is a great point. JD Drew might be the best example of a controlled player being traded. He was traded after his age 27 season, which seems a lot older than the narrative I kind of had in my head for him. I thought he was like 25 when they moved him. But yeah, that was his age 27 season when they traded JD Drew, and obviously they got some young pitching.
Well, yeah, they got Ray King, they got Jason Marquis, and they got Adam Wainwright in that deal. And they also gave up Eli Marrero. One of the interesting things about that trade, though,
a catcher.
Is he wound up playing outfield mostly.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah,
That's
for
crazy.
Atlanta. But the skipper, who had a lot of juice in the organization at that time, and obviously had Walt Jocketty on his side, the skipper was tired of J.D. Drew. J.D. Drew had talent, but he didn't want to play enough. And you know how Tony was. The most important ability is availability.
You can't keep Brendan Donovan off the field.
Well,
he's playing through injuries.
Yeah, he has. But yeah, Tony would like Brendan Donovan. Tony would be a Brendan Donovan.
Love Brendan Donovan.
Yeah.
Space. Using Donny as a trade chip example, he'd likely net a top 5 and 15 in a given org as return. The 5 is exceedingly likely to be good, even if the other pieces end up being nothing.
Well, and there's a difference between the top 5 of different organizations.
Can't compare.
Some teams don't have any top 100 players. Some teams have 7 or 8 top 100 players. So, for example, if you would have been able to get a near 5 and a near 15 from Boston at the beginning of the season, get Campbell and Mayer, you would have probably made that deal for Brendan Donovan. But would you have taken 5 and 15 from the Chicago White Sox? Probably not.
Interesting. All right, I think you're probably right about that. Let's get back to some of these chats. Bubs, by the way, we were asking what labs he does. It's geology, mineral deposits.
That's cool. I like that.
Bubs, can you do me a favor and write me a letter explaining to me exactly why diamonds aren't rare, so that I can win some arguments against certain people in my life.
Okay. Somebody's getting coal.
Kevin Pruitt, what position should be given priority first in this rebuild?
Outfield.
I was gonna say, can I take away from position and answer a type of player?
Yeah,
power hitter.
Yep, that's
or power pitching, I guess.
Yeah, power. Well, one of the reasons that Ivan Herrera is being allowed to catch if he requests it is because the bat plays, and you want to keep your power hitter happy if you only have one of them. So yes, power hitter would be great. Power hitting outfielder would be even better. And it's amazing how this always comes back to Jordan Walker. The fact that Jordan Walker didn't work out and is not a power hitter is the biggest reason that we're sitting here today talking about this year not really working out and how they have to go into a full rebuild. We would not be talking about a full rebuild if Jordan Walker had been what they expected him to be.
Absolutely, 100% true.
Yeah.
Something we are talking about that kind of surprises me, Randy, is that technically the Cardinals' playoff chances are alive.
Yes.
For now.
Here we go.
For now. And now we're going to be doing a little scoreboard watching today, I think.
So let's do it. Let's watch the Mets and the Cubs tonight, 7:05 at Wrigley. The Mets and the Cubs were playing in 1969, and during the great Cubs collapse, the cat ran on the field. That was at Shea Stadium, but maybe a cat will run on the field. Then the Reds and the Pirates. Reds should win that game, and then Diamondbacks and Doyers. D-backs came back to win last night, and then the Cards and the Giants. They're the Redbirds sitting only 3.5 back in the wild card. You never know.
So literally any of these teams win and things get a little hairy for the Cardinals. Mets win at the Cubs. Things are pretty much over. Reds and D-backs can obviously pull away a little bit more. And then Cardinals, there it is, 3.5 games back. They actually have the latest start time. We'll get Reds and Pirates will be over the first one, a few innings into Mets and Cubs. Then we'll get D-backs and Dodgers right alongside the Cardinals, Giants
players are going to be
tonight.
running back to the clubhouse to watch that Diamondbacks.
We'll be doing a little scoreboard watching for the Cardinals. It's absolutely insane. And this brings me to one of my next questions.
Can I give you one other quick
thing
here? The Pirates Reds game, Paul Skeens against Hunter Green.
Oh, yeah. Skywalker says that. They face Skeens.
How much fun is that?
Oh, that's fantastic. Let's go. You know what? I went on a rant about how this was never going to happen next year, but Imaginary Cobras that says 2011 vibes. So that actually makes two questions. Is MLB about to benefit from its own incompetence? That like the wild card is going to trip out all these teams sucking. No one wants to win, and the MLB saying, "Yeah, we'll dilute our regular season by adding a third wild card," is actually going to create this perfect storm of interest this last week of the season.
It feels like 2011.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no doubt. When you look at where the Tigers were, best record in baseball for a good portion of the season, 10 games up, I think at the beginning of the month, and now they're tied, and Cleveland has a tiebreaker over them. Then you look at what Houston had, I think a 3-game lead or a 4-game lead over Seattle. Now they're behind by 3. And then you look at the Mets. They had a 5.5-game lead over, I think it was 5 over the Reds and 5.5 over Arizona. And now they're only a game ahead. It's unbelievable how things are happening. And I don't think, well, if you didn't have these wild card teams, you wouldn't have these races. But Houston and Seattle is for the division title.
That's true. That one's interesting, but that's my thing is and
Detroit and Cleveland is for the division.
They've kind of tripped into it. It's like I want to be like, well, it's like 2011, but it's like no, in 2011 there was a couple teams collapsing that added to it, but it's pathetic that none of the teams can put away this third NL wild card spot, and it's also the third NL wild card spot. A couple of these teams are the Cardinals are below 500. It has mathematically the same vibe as 2011, but it feels like sacrilege to compare it to 2011.
Detroit, Houston, and the Mets are the Braves and the Red Sox of 2011. And fair. MLB Network might have a hell of a day on Sunday, even though there will be football going on and there'll be limited viewership. But it's always fun. That last day of the season, they try to have everybody start at the same time. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that or not. Let's see, 2:00. Every game starts between 2:05 and 2:20. Every Major League Baseball game on Sunday starts between 2:05 and 2:20. So that'll be great, having games go down to the wire. And for those teams that we're talking about, you're going to have Detroit at Boston. That can be very meaningful. That's at 2:05. You're going to have San Francisco's done. Houston at the Angels at 2:07. Mets at Miami at 2:10. And then where are the Guardians? So the Guardians are going to start at 2:10 also. They take on Texas. So it's going to be wild.
Somebody just said, we got you, Mama. Cubs, Pirates, Dodgers, Cardinals parlay. And I'm going to go to the DraftKings app and see if you wanted to drive across the bridge, what could you get that parlay at right now? Okay. I kind of want to know. Good. Also, my good friend Bubs, thank you very much for this line. Diamonds aren't rare because even though they only come from one type of deposit in the world, those deposits are full of them. Their supply is staunchly controlled by those companies to appear rare. Thanks to beers, you bums. Also, Bubs, do me a favor. Give me a top 5 of the rarest gemstones in the world. I'd love to know that right now off the top. That would be fascinating.
Fun fact too: diamonds are what is called metastable at the surface of the earth, and they actually slowly turn to graphite. Though this is imperceptible for us, diamonds aren't forever. Interesting.
Those lying SOBs. Let's do we don't do the money line, and we don't do the run spread on these. You learn something new
on the Randy Karraker show every single day, and right now you're going to learn that in Missouri, you need to get ready because the wait is almost over, and DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today right here in Missouri. New Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets when they launch on December 1st, and all you need to do is download the DraftKings app and place a $5 bet when they go live. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when you do officially see them go live in Missouri, you're going to be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when they go live on December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
One question for you, Randy,
Yes.
here. When this scoreboard eventually goes belly up and the Cardinals are eliminated,
Yes.
probably in the next 48 hours, is there going to be a moment you look at in this season where you regret and you say, if they just could have gotten their heads out of their asses and not gotten swept in this series, or not thrown the ball around the infield in this series? Is there a moment that you'll look back for the Cardinals season and really regret because they wasted a chance, even if it wasn't a good chance, they wasted a chance at getting into the tournament and having something happen?
Two different stretches
Mm-hmm.
strike me. Number one, that road trip where Sonny Gray started it off with the incredible performance in Cleveland, the one hitter where he went all the way.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, he threw his Maddox, and then the Cardinals sweep Cleveland, but then they go to Pittsburgh and don't score a run.
That's bad.
They got swept by the Pirates, and then they wind up losing 2 out of 3 in Chicago. So after that Cleveland series, the Cardinals were only 2.5 games out of the lead in the division, and after that road trip, they were 6.5 back. They lost 4 games in the standings in 6 games.
Oof.
So that stretch in Pittsburgh and in Chicago, that was devastating. And then the other one, and I think we can all look back on this, although this would have been more of a wild card situation if you would have been able to succeed. But you go to Arizona and you get swept right after the All-Star break. And then you go to Colorado, which is going to wind up being one of the worst teams in the history of baseball. And the Rockies beat you 2 out of 3. That was disastrous for the Cardinals. And that's when the Cardinals decided, yeah, it's just not going to happen for us. And they decided to sell at the deadline, because once that occurred and they lost to teams, they should have been right there with Arizona and been able to take 2 out of 3, or at least 1 out of 3. And then you lose 2 out of 3 and you get hammered in those 2 losses by the Rockies. Those were the 2 for me. And then distant third in terms of a stretch is the series against the Rockies here that you lost 2 out of 3 also. And I can also throw in the 4th of July, but I think things were done by the 4th of July. But when Michaelis got hammered on the 4th of July, that was pretty bad too. But the 2 big ones for me are going to be Pittsburgh and Chicago on the road right after the Cleveland series, and then the 6 games right out of the break with Arizona and Colorado. And interestingly, all those games were on the road. I didn't really have any serious issues with any home stretches, except for that one stretch against Colorado here where you lost the 2 out of 3.
I think that's pretty much the good one. The big one that everyone wants to throw out, and Graham's right on top of it. If 1/3 of the Feddy's losses were converted to wins by throwing a good pitcher instead, we would be in the hunt. 1/3 of Feddy's losses is 3 to 4 more wins. Samuel Howe says the Feddy start when we all knew he shouldn't have. Jeebus, I hate losing to the Pirates.
Yeah, and the Pirates were in a good stretch. You know, there was a stretch of 40 or 50 games there right after Don Kelly became their manager that they were
dangerous.
Yeah, they were a 500 team, and they were dangerous is a good word. You should have beaten them, but they were dangerous. Here's the other thing about the start for Eric Fedde is the Cardinals were not good in May with him, in April or March and April. So he wins his first start against the Twins. He loses every single one of his starts in April. You lose 13-9, you lose 2-1, and he went 7 innings in that game. You lose 2-0, you lose 7-6, you lose 7-1. So, but he was not winning games. But then he wins a couple, 6-5, and he goes 5 innings, allows 3 runs, and then he goes a complete game shutout at Washington, and you're thinking, okay, something might happen. Then they lose 2-1. He gives you 5 2/3 shutout innings. So in May, you're thinking, okay, 5 innings, 4 runs, and then 5 innings and 3 earned. And you're thinking in May, okay, well, he's got a chance to be a 500 guy for us. And then June hit, and right, he goes 6, allows 2, then he goes 5 1/3 shutout, then he goes 5 1/3 3, and you're thinking, okay, still okay, not horrible, and then 5 1, and then it fell apart in a hurry. So after June 19th, and at that point he was 3 6, but he'd thrown well as much as he had thrown poorly. But then he goes 3 2/3, allows 7 earned. He goes 5, allows 7 earned. He goes 1 1/3 and allows 3 earned. He goes 4 2/3 and allows 3 earned. He goes 3 and allows 6 earned. He quit giving you innings at that point, and that's when the Cardinals cut him. So the fact that it happened in such a hurry, I think, is what bewildered the Cardinals, because he was average. He was Cardinal average. He was Michaelis average for that stretch. But man, it happened in a hurry. If you look at what he did for the Cardinals in May and June, they were 1-2-0, 2-3, 2-4, 3-4, 3-5, 4-5, so 4-7. But then, man, let's go say 4-6. But then things fell apart. Actually, no, 4 and yeah.
Michael Telemark, in the first Cubs series, the Cardinals won the first 2 games and we were at our peak confidence. Then the Cubs won one of the next 2 games, and they were never the same after those 2 losses. That does kind of seem like a crystallized moment in the season. I like that.
Yeah.
Samuel Howe, but who were they going to start for Memphis? That was
going to be McGreevy, right?
He was saying people were wondering how do they pull McGreevy up from Memphis, because the question was, but what is Memphis going to do? There's no bodies. And it was an interesting question.
Yeah. They fortunately, and I have not looked for this stat. I got to ask somebody, when the last time a Major League Baseball team went through an entire season without putting a starting pitcher on the IL list.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Bubs, by the way, dropping some knowledge. Rarest gemstone is subjective because of quality of mineral, color, etc. But here are a few of my favorite: Jeremvite, Alexandrite, and Paonite. The rarest, I believe. Some elements are even rarer. And Randy, I decided to do a little Google search on these ones just so you can enjoy it. That's the Jeremagravite or whatever it's called. And then the Paonite is Tell you what, Bubs, you got some good taste. Those are some cool ass gemstones.
Yeah.
Let's get back on track, because
let me get to Graham here. Nobody in Michaelis only starts at home. We'd be competing for the division. The starting pitching has been bad, okay? But this team is 18th in the major leagues in runs. There are 30 teams, and they're 18th in runs scored. And they're 15-55 when they score 3 or fewer runs. You've got an incredibly inconsistent offense, and you need to get to 4 runs more often. When you have 70 games where you've scored 3 or fewer runs, that'd be 55, 67. When you have 70 games where you've scored 3 or fewer runs, and you're 15-55 in those games, you need to score more runs. And by the way, the record with 4 or more is outrageously good. Their winning percentage is outrageously high. So we can talk all we want about how bad the starting pitching is, but the offense has been just as bad. It's not like this offense was a competitive pennant winning or division winning or even playoff offense. They just aren't that good. And half of the starting 8 is good. When you have Wynn in there, Wynn, Donovan, Fine, Burleson, Herrera, and let's throw Contreras in there. So you got those guys, and so 5 of your 9 are fine. Walker, bad. Scott, bad. Arenado, bad. Catching position, Pajes primarily, average. So when you have that, you can't expect to score a bunch of runs, and that's why they're 18th and well below average in the majors in runs scored.
Sorry, I'm trying to actually figure out their record when they score 4 more runs.
Here, I can give it. Let me get it. I'll grab it for you.
I was trying to grab that there. I see what Graham's saying, and he says, "Hey, I agree with you. What you're saying, Randy. The offense is the problem."
Yeah, it's a problem. The team has a lot of problems. The offense is a problem.
Hence the rebuild.
Yeah, there you go.
Randy, we have a problem, which is we can't stop talking Cardinals on this show, and we keep opening the show with it because games like yesterday keep happening.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry, guys, we just can't help it. But
don't forget your 25-cent drinks.
But we will pivot We're going to talk about some
pivot.
Blues. We're going to talk about the
Let's
Blues
go Blues.
because I am absolutely jacked for the Blue season. I know everyone else is extremely excited for the Blue season. I know we're going to be talking about this with the Cardinals background, but we're still going to keep rolling it this way.
Okay. And I'm going to
because
get you that stat while we're talking.
There we go. My question, and I brought this up on Monday because I got through the weekend reading an article on The Athletic, or a group of articles on The Athletic, and they were down on the Blues despite the Blues.
Who wrote it?
There was three different people. Three different people were contributed. Dom Decision was one of those three people. There was also an article with two people. He was one half of the cohort there. But the big thing I was taking away is that all my excitement for the Blues with all these young players who you could think, at least some of them, are going to even get even better than they were last year. And all the veterans that are on this team should continue to be pretty good for at least another year because they're not too old.
Yep. 63 and 25 when scoring.
63 and 25.
4 or more.
Scoring 4 or more runs for the Cardinals. That's absolutely insane. The offense needs to improve. So the Blues, I got all this excitement, and yet the Athletic isn't holding the same kind of excitement for the St. Louis Blues. And so, Randy, I couldn't help myself. I'm a nerd. I like putting together graphics for this show.
Okay, good.
So I decided to put together a graphic for this show because all these things they're throwing out. They're talking about Robert Thomas, and their projection for him has him at like 78 points. That seems a little bit off to me because of what he did last year. And so again, I put together some numbers. We're gonna throw up this little stat I put together, and it's the question I'm asking is how much better did the Blues' biggest players play under Monty last season?
It's a good question.
And we get 60 games for a lot of these players. A lot of them had issues where they weren't healthy for the first 22 games under Drew Bannister. A lot of these guys got 60 games, especially in the forwards. The defensemen didn't get 60 games very much. They were hurt, and we got a lot from the goalies. So you can see right here what I have here. We have the top 6 forwards, the top 4 defensemen, and our goalie tandem here because all these guys played the majority of the season for the Blues and for the 2 coaches, except for Cam Fowler, but he has a nice little split because of the trade, so we can put him on there as well. So when you look at these numbers, the numbers on the left are going to be without Monty under Drew Bannister. The numbers on the right are going to be with Monty. And you look at how every single one of these players,
literally every single one,
except for Broberg. Broberg's the only one who didn't. Broberg he got hurt, and he had those crazy goals to open up the season. So he had 9 points in the first 12 games of the season, which was 0.75 points per game. He dropped down to 20 points in 56 games, 0.36. Still very good for Broberg. If he does that across the entire season, you're still very happy with what you do. I had the numbers right here. If Broberg does 20 points in 56 games, if you extrapolate that across an entire season, Broberg's giving you 9 goals, 21 assists for a 30-point season for a 24-year-old. That'd be pretty good for a defenseman. Yeah. That's literally what you were getting from Colton Parayko when he was showing out that he could have the potential to be a number 1. So bottom line is, all of these numbers tell you that if you give full seasons to these players, or as you point out, Pavel Buchnevich' case, 68 games or so, whatever he usually plays, these guys should have obviously better seasons. For some of these guys, career years. Robert Thomas was a 1.2 points per game player under Monty, and so
he led the league in scoring after the 4 Nations.
And so to then project him as a 78 point player, you're just ignoring what he did. Jordan Kyrou was pushing a point per, or Dylan Holloway, was pushing a point per game under Montgomery after just looking at 0.36 per game prior to that. That's another guy who you can extrapolate and say, considering his youth, considering what the Blues are going to put around him, considering his time now with the team, you have to factor in the injury as well. There's no reason he can't do that again. All these numbers are telling me that you give this team a full season in an off season under Montgomery, there's no reason not to extrapolate what they did after he took over to a full season and expect it this season from the Blues.
I think that they will be a better situated playoff team in 25-26 than they were in 24-25. And you look at the group. I expect Jimmy Snuggerud to be even better. He's 21 years old and didn't get much of an opportunity last year. I expect that Logan Mailloux is going to be better than he was because he only played, 7 games in the NHL last year. And he is playing under a really good coaching staff. I think Neighbors at the age of 23 has a chance to get better. I don't know why I would think that a 23-year-old could get better under a great coach who has the second or third highest winning percentage in the history of the league. Dylan Holloway is only 24. And he was great last year and got better. I think there's room for him to get better. We mentioned Broberg. I think that he can get better. I think Tucker can be a better player. I look at the group of young players, and I'll include Thomas and Kyrou in this. I think Jordan Kyrou still can be a 40-goal guy. And I get the narrative that Dom Lucian has. He loves the clicks that he gets because Blues fans get pissed when he says bad things about him. He's written that. He does that on purpose. But the other guys, and that Shaw McIndoe is another, he's the one that wanted Bennington benched. He clearly doesn't watch hockey games. Last year in the Four Nations, he wanted Bennington benched. I would think if you're writing for a national or a multinational publication like The Athletic is, you'd be a little bit more responsible, but they aren't, and it is what it is.
By the way, 40 goals is completely reasonable ask for Jordan Kyrou this year. He's hitting his prime. He figured out his 200-foot game, but also if you look at the numbers, look at the numbers right there for Jordan Kyrou. He was at 0.82 points per game under Bannister, and he only upped it to 0.87 under Monty. So that is a reasonable jump. So if you extrapolate that 0.87 across the entire season, 41 goals. So right there, he's a 40-goal scorer right there. All these players. By the way, Robert Thomas, you extrapolate that his Montgomery season to a full season. Robert Thomas, 98 points. Holloway, 82 points. Jake Neighbors becomes a 50-point player. Jordan Kyrou, 71. Braden Shen still a 56-point player at the pace he was playing under Monty last year. That would be huge if they were able to get one of the oldest players on the roster playing at that level. And then, talk about the defenseman. Cam Fowler has one of the highest points per game runs for the entire Blues roster this season. A defenseman, Colton Parayko, if he plays 70, 80 games this year, he's going to have one of the best seasons of the defenseman, not just per game, just flat out like hard stats. It's unbelievable what these guys could do under Monty, and any team shorting them. We're not even talking about the goalies. Look at all the goalie numbers. Everything got better for Binnington and Hofer, and with a grain of salt, pointing to maybe the goalies getting a little help, but also the defense getting better. They look at the amount of shots. Binnington was facing 27 shots per game. Hofer was facing 29 shots per game. Under Bannister, under Monty, it goes down to 25 and 24 shots per game. So the defense is improving. The goalies are improving behind it. The offense is improving from players both on the forward side and the defensive side. And we know from interviews and talking to players last year, guys like Kyrou, guys like Robert Thomas, who already were good defenders, are taking their defense to a new level. Every aspect of this team got better last year. They're young. We're not even on this list are the players you mentioned. Guys like Jimmy Snuggerud, Mayu. These are guys who are high-level talented players. This isn't just like second or third round guys where it's just like, yeah, let's get excited for Robbie Fabry and D'Agostini.
Robbie Fabry.
And D'Agostini and guys who are just going to grit through it and be really fun 40-point players for us because they're gritty players and they play a lot. No. These are legitimately talented players. And for some reason, people aren't thinking that's going to add to the Blues. I certainly think it will.
And I think if you are paying close attention to the age of the players on this team and the quality of those players and the performance of those players once Jim Montgomery arrived, as you point out here, I think if you, and it's different when you have to cover 32 teams as opposed to just one like we do. So I get it from those guys' perspective that they just aren't able to look at this franchise the way we are. But if you do look at it this way, logic would dictate that they're going to be better than last year, and they were a playoff team that went to Game 7 against a team with the best record in the West last year.
And the other things we're talking about is, what kind of boost do you get? Maybe it does say something about your team, but I mean, if a guy like Justin Carbonneau can force you to give him a 9-game look because he's that dynamic and that changes how much more of a dangerous team you can be across your third line. Because the one thing you could say is, well, you're only talking about the top 4 defensemen. You're only talking about your top 6. What's the bottom 6 forwards look like? What's your third pairing look like? That's a fair question to ask, but the bottom 6 looks like Dalibor Dvorsky, Justin Carbonneau potentially, Jimmy Snuggerud, Milan Lucic, an Oscar Sundqvist who played better under Monty after he got healthy last year, a Toropchenko who's only getting better, who's not on this list, a Nathan Walker who's good enough to get a 2-year extension from the Blues. So everybody who's not even on this list are players that it's completely reasonable that we expect and the Blues to expect to get better this year and make this team even better.
Yeah, and I thought one of the problems that they ran into last year, this was my opinion, I thought that their third line last year would have been the fourth line for a Stanley Cup champion team. And I don't think that there was enough skill on the third line. I think with the additions of people like Suter and Bugstad and bringing up Jimmy Snuggerud for a whole season so you can kind of knock neighbors down to a third line area, I think that you've got a really good chance to have a talented third line that can be much more productive than last year's third line was.
Yeah, whether it's getting a guy like Milan Lucic who adds an aggressive veteran mentality, or if it is a guy like Carbonneau or Dvorsky stepping up from the offensive side. Either way, you're creating a dynamic on the third line that makes you a more dangerous team.
Yeah.
Whether it's the 2019, we're heavy hitters, we're beating people up in a way, or it's the 2025, 2026, we're playing the way everybody else is. We're playing fast, or we're playing offensive. Either way, you can pivot it. And I love a roster that has some flexibility.
And I think you do have a lot of guys that are capable of being decent fourth liners. Like, it wouldn't break my heart to start the season with the fourth line of Sundqvist, Toropchenko, and Walker.
Yeah, not at all. I love that.
Yeah, and
I love
that's an energy line. And then if you need to make some changes, you can. You've got Alexandrov, who they still like. They gave him a contract too. I think there's a lot of different things that this team can do.
They're going to be deep. They're going to be good. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch. And we're going to have a lot of fun talking about them.
LGB.
Yeah.
And
Go Blues.
Thomas.
And Thomas.
Yep.
God bless America.
Yeah. What?
Your consistency it astounds me.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
We've got the Cardinal. Did we already do the Cardinal pregame show today?
Cardinal pregame show already happened today.
So we'll do a Cardinal postgame show afterwards, though.
Yes. And speaking of Cardinals postgame show, Friday is going to be a very interesting schedule because of the Cardinals game being earlier in the day. What's going to happen is that we're going to go live with Bernie, we're gonna record with Bernie. You and I are going to go live and do the Cardinals postgame show, and then everyone's going to get to hear what we were talking about with Bernie. So it's going to be a lot of special. We're going to talk about a lot of football. We're going to talk a lot of baseball with Bernie, and then you and I are actually going to do the postgame for the Cardinals on Friday. We also potentially have some college basketball talk because that's going to be ramping up here. We could potentially have some of that coming up here either potentially tomorrow or next week. Also, potentially some college football talk. It's Thursday because we look forward to another week of SEC football with our friends over at Southeast Sports Fans. And, of course, Mizzou against UMass. It's a boring matchup, but nonetheless, it's a matchup. Let's get into a little Ahmad Hardy talk tomorrow.
Let's do that. By the way, congratulations to Sister Jean, 106 years old, and she retired. Normally, when you're 106, you don't get a chance to retire. So congratulations, because you die. So congratulations to her on her retirement. She says that her health is failing.
Terrible.
And what? Isn't that true?
Well, yeah, that
don't most 106-year-olds die?
Well, we all do.
Yeah. So congratulations to her on her retirement. We're happy for her.
That wasn't going to be the college football thing we talked about, but there it is.
Oh, we've got a lot of college football stuff to talk about. And then the Ryder Cup, too. We'll talk a little Ryder Cup just because I like it and you like it.
And if the Cardinals are still live, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah. So it's going to be fun.
You can see I'm excited about it. High Definition keeps complaining that we're talking about the Cardinals. And I'm like, hey, buddy.
You don't want us to talk about the Cardinals?
I would love it. I would love it if we didn't have to open with them. But if
it was fun. That was a fun game.
Last night was a blast.
Yeah.
Can't remember the last time I saw a Cardinal hit 4 doubles in a game. I'm sure it happened last year. And I forgot about it because that usually ends up. That's what happens when I opine that I haven't seen something happen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably happened one. Yeah, it's probably happened recently. I just forgot, but nonetheless, it was special. Ivan Herrera is hitting the crap out of the ball. We didn't get to put up my favorite stat of the day, which is Ivan Herrera is tied for the lead in Major League Baseball for home runs in September with Shohei Ohtani and Cal Raleigh.
So
stupid stat.
Yeah, Ivan Herrera is the offensive player that Jordan Walker was supposed to be. So,
yeah.
And hopefully that'll wind up.
So let's just keep pivoting from that perspective. Let's just stop talking about Jordan Walker. He's now what you thought about Ivan Herrera 2 years ago. That's where you need to put Jordan Walker in your brain.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fair
because
enough.
Also, how old is Ivan Herrera? Ivan Herrera is 25. 2 years ago, how old was he?
23.
How old is Jordan Walker?
Now?
Yeah.
He is 23.
There it is.
How about that? There you go.
Just switch him now. Jordan Walker is now. Were you worried about Ivan Herrera's swing 2 years ago?
Yes.
You weren't thinking. You were worried about his arm 2 years ago. You weren't thinking about Ivan Herrera's swing 2 years ago. So, sleep tight, guys. Don't worry about Jordan Walker. He's 23. By the time he's 25, he'll be hitting the crap out of the ball. 8 home runs in a month.
Yeah. I've been looking for the statistic for Robert Thomas after the Four Nations, and I've got it for you here.
Oh, Samuel Howe asked a quick question. Bet parlay, he apparently is across the river.
Okay.
You play, so money lines on the Cardinals, Dodgers, Cubs, and Reds all to win tonight. Oh, no, we need the Pirates to win. My apologies. Hold on a second. I got to change.
Skeens over 100.
Yeah, because it's the Cardinals scoreboard run. So we need the Cubs to win, the Pirates to win, the Dodgers to win, and the Cardinals to win. And you can get that right now on our friends at DraftKings at plus 1,079. So $1,079 for $100 on that 4-game parlay. I'm confident about the Pirates, and I'm confident about the Pirates leg of that, thanks to Skeen. Beyond that, nah.
Okay. And Thomas, by the way, 40 points after the Four Nations face-off, and that was tops in the NHL.
DraftKings should call. If this was after December 1st, I would have an email into our rep being like, can we get a special? So you're saying there's a chance parlay put out to our listeners on the DraftKings app, because mama, that's a fantastic idea. So you're telling me there's a chance parlay, because
we'll do it.
Technically it's still there. Cardinals alive at least one more night.
Hey, and thanks to our friends at DraftKings, where the crown is yours. They present everything here at STL Sports Central, including the Randy Karraker Show. For Matthew and Wilson, who got us on the air, I am Randy, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening.